but I'm still out here boasting. I'm focused, I block out commotion. All of y'all salty like you drunk the ocean. To enemies, your only devotion. Watching this shit, they your favorite and like it. To know more about y'all emotions. Use it.
What is up, my fellow Windows? Flames you here, and I am back with another tutorial for you guys. This time it is a beginner's introduction to YOLO. Today I'm going to teach you the very basic of the basic for YOLO. There's a lot more complex stuff out there that I'm still learning, but I'm going to teach you some basic stuff that hopefully you can use the basic knowledge that you get from the video today to create some other basic scripts for use in any application that you might see fit. So today we're going to work with some navigational lights. So I've got the red light and I've got the green light here, and I have named them as such. Okay, so red light, green light. Now we know that if we use our utility tool to change a field name to cab lights, right, and then we change the button name, so over here on this button we have it set to cab lights, that when we push the button the light turns on, when we push the button the light turns off. Simple. Now we could name both of the green light and both the red light and the green light to nav lights like I have here, and they would both turn on, and then that would turn them off. But what if we want them to blink fast, or we want them to blink slowly, or we want literally anything else to happen besides just hitting the button and leaving them on? That is where YOLO comes in handy. So we come over here to a YOLO chip. Alright, it does not have to be an advanced chip like I have here. It could be a basic chip. This is just for the example. So in the first line that I've already started here, you can see that I have if colon. Now the colon in this, and here I'm going to try to bring this up a little bit bigger. So if colon, the reason we have the colon there, the colon is used to call on a variable or device field name from within the data network, or on another variable that has been established inside the code. So right now we're saying if navlights equals 1. The reason we use 2 equal signs is because that means equals 2, whereas 1 equal sign means that it's changing. So if we do red lights equals 1, that means that we want it to change from 0 to 1. I'll show you more on that here in just a minute. So if navlights is equal to 1, that means we push the button, which means that it is now 1. Then the line is allowed to go to line 2, right? Or else, meaning just else here, means if this isn't true. So if this is a false statement, then it has to go to 1 end command. So if you're using if, then else, always put end at the end of it. You can also use and stuff like that, but that's some more advanced stuff. So if navlights is equal to 1, then go to 2, else go to 1 end. So if navlights is off, we push the button, turn the light off. It's just going to stay here on line 1. It's not going to do anything, right? So now we're going to say that the navlights is on, right? So we are going to call on red light equals 1. So now we're using 1 equal sign this time. That means we're changing it from 0 to 1. Green light equals 1. Okay? So now we have changed those lights to on. So if I were to leave that just as it is, just like that, right? And leave it just like that. We get in here. Then when we hit the nav lights button, the lights just turn on and stay on. Just like if we had named the lights nav lights. But this time we didn't have to do that. This time we just used YOLO instead. So that's for the solid lights. And we turn it off, and it stays on 1 because and they stay on because there's no command telling them to turn off. Right? So now, all right, let's go down to like line 12, colon, red light equals 0. Green light equals 0. All right, so we put that down a little further on. Okay, so remember, keep in mind that it takes 0.25 seconds to read each line, right? So now that I've done that, when I hit the nav light switch, they now blink slowly. Turn the nav lights off, they don't come on anymore. So that's a way that you could do some blinks. Now if you want them to be closer together, you know, you could turn the off time. So say you want it to be a quick blink, right? You could change red light to 0 on the second line. I did red light twice. Lamau. Oh my goodness. I'm typing too much. Alright. Equals 0. So equals 0. We're changing it to off, right? Alright. F5. Yeah. Turn the nav lights on. And so now you see that they're blinking kind of more like airplane lights. Right? Blink. And then it's going through the rest of the lines. Then it's blinking again. Then it's going through the rest of the lines. Then it's blinking again. And so that's how you time delay. You can delay the blinks between it. So it's not just on and off. They just blink. And you can move those lines down further, and then if we turn this off, then now it no longer does anything because we told it to stay on 1 if the light's on 0. So like, if you were to take these lines and these lines, and you were to move them down a little bit, then it would take longer to read this one and this one. But again, we told it to go to 2. So if we wanted the lights to stay on a little longer before they went off, we could move line 3 down. If you wanted them to blink still at the same time, but you wanted it to take longer between blinks, then you can take the line, right, and say we move it down to 6. Or I'm sorry, I was incorrect. So we would just have to move the off line. So if we want it to stay off or on a little longer and off a little longer, then we move the line down here. So now that we've done that, we turn the nav light switch on. They'll come on and stay on and then turn off. And they'll come on and stay on and then turn off, and then it can change. So you can change your speed based on where in the line the code is. So, me personally, I like the quick blink, so we're gonna put it right back up under line 3. Like this. So again, this line, line 2, has changed it from being off to on by changing it to 1. So in this case, 1 equals true, right? And we in line 3, we turn them off. So we're not using equals because we're not telling it it's equal to something. We want it to change it to that. So then green light equals 0. Now, if I were to have a line of code that I didn't want the chip to read, you can use // What that does is it's called commenting out. So you comment out the lines using a double slash. Now, even if nav lights is equal to 1, it will ignore everything else in the script. Turn nav lights on. It's ignoring everything else. Not coming on, not doing anything, just ignoring it. So that's what commenting does. Why do I have no active chip? I love it when stuff happens. Okay, so we commented it out, and that made it ignore it. So if you wrote a custom script and you wanted everybody to know it was yours, right? Or that you wrote it on, say, a ship you designed, and it's a script that's maybe not on any other ship, you could do, you know, you click into your line, you could do // you know, whatever the script name, right? So that, pretend that's your script name by, you know, so like that. So like I could do, I mean, this Navlight script is in the game. Kenneter uses it. Lots of other people use it. It's a super thing. But like you could do Navlight script, and then it's just there, you know, as a note. This is also how people leave notes inside YOLO chips at store-bought ships, is by commenting out the stuff that they want you to read most of the time. So that's something there that you can do. Now, a lot of people I see ask about power management and stuff like that. So I want to show you really quickly. We'll kind of go over this, and we'll turn our little nav lights on since we're working with the YOLO. So if I fly this forward, all right, you can see that we're draining some battery, right? The battery's going down pretty quickly, but soon it's gonna start charging. So say we stop the ship right now, just as an example. So now you can see that the battery is charging. As the batteries continue to charge, and you'll also notice that the number is higher than 10,000. I'll show you how to do that too. So we're gonna sit here for a second and let the batteries charge. Now you can see that FCURL, which stands for Fuel Chamber Unit Rate Limit, has now dropped low because the batteries are high. This is fuel management and power management. So the generators need the fuel in order to create the power, right? So if you cut down the fuel rate limit, then the generator's rate limit doesn't matter. So I'm going to show you how we manage that. So now I usually, due to the fact that I sometimes tend to lose all my YOLO chips inside my ship, I put the power management script at the very front. So as you can see here, I put a comment, right, commented out, so that way everybody who uses the ship in my company, this ship, by the way, is not going to be for sale. I'm not going to put it in the ship shop. I did not originally design this ship. This is a ship designed by Simulator Haven, with a couple changes that I've made myself, but it's most of it, 99.999% of it's designed by Simulator Haven. It was a super awesome ship, and I just kind of used the shell and the ore and, you know, how he got it to balance out, and then added some of my own things to it. I didn't use the double deck or anything like that, and I absolutely failed at plating it. But shout out to Simulator Haven for the awesome ship. Most of what he did in his building a mega hauler and suffering for it video, you can find that, and you can build one yourself and then get the materials for it and stuff. Most of what he did in there, you know, was still to date for the current game and for what it is. It was super awesome to follow along. It was a nice little project, and it heavily inspired me for some future designs that I intend to build myself. So anyways, I just wanted to point that out. But I tend to lose my YOLO chips, so I just put the power script right up here. So the way the power script works, all right, is, as you can see, I have named the fuel chamber unit rate limit all to FCURL, right? FCURL, 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 and the generators I've all changed to GURL, generator unit rate limit. So now the reason that we do this is so that way we can see exactly what it is. So let's get a little small device here. Let's see, what is it? Under controls, and then there's a text panel. There's a progress bar, and it's supposed to be small. Here we go. Small little progress bar, right? So let's take that. And just for this, I normally don't bother with it, but for the sake of showing you guys, I wonder if it would work if I bolted it on like this. I've seen it happen before, but we'll see. So we'll change this panel value to GURL. So there you go. You can see the generator unit rate limit. Let's test that. Make sure that stays there. All right. Ooh, skip forward. So you can see that the generator unit rate limit is there, and it's sitting at 100 because of the batteries being charged. That's the rate limit, right? And so the reason that's not changing, I'm gonna show you, this is a typical mistake. So, and I just made it without realizing it. So, the reason that that's not changing is because nothing in the code is changing the rate limit. Just the unit rate, right? So, if I do this, and the batteries need charging, now you can see how put that back. So now you can see how slowly the generator unit rate was going up to charge the batteries, right? It's not going very high at all based on the need, and now you can see the generator is going down on its consumption of power. So that is why the power script works without having to mess with the generator unit rate limit. You can just use the fuel and manage your fuel. So now I'm going to explain the code behind that. So on the power script, we have :FCURL. So you can see here that I've named all of these FCURL, all 4 of them, so that way it affects all 4 of them. So when I come in here, I'm telling the chip :FCURL, which is the fuel chamber unit rate limit, all right, is equal to 1,000 minus, now I'm telling it to do math now. So you can use any of your batteries. I named each battery B1, B2, B3, B4, B5. They all discharge at the same time, so you can use any one of your batteries, or you can name all of your batteries the same thing. Either way, this will still work. So off of based on B1, so 1,000 minus B1, which is what used to be stored battery power, I think is the default device name. So it's 1,000 minus the 10,000 divided by 10. And then I'm telling it to go to 2, so it continues to run this. So that will effectively subtract 1,000 from the 10,000, meaning it's 9,000. It'll divide that by 10, and it'll keep going. And that will allow the generator to run at the rate that the batteries need the power. So the batteries effectively never completely die out. So I'll show you how that works. We get in the ship. We fly forward. Ooh, I didn't mean to pitch like that. Turn the little nav lights on. We YOLO coded that. So you can see that the batteries are draining pretty quickly. But now the fuel chamber unit rate's at 100. The generator unit rate is climbing to try and catch up. As the generator unit rate starts to climb up, you see now it caught the battery. It caught it pretty low, so that means that I need to adjust some of it, but that's how the power script works. It caught the battery before the battery died, and now the generator is working to charge the battery up, and as you can see, it's charging it rather quickly. So you can change the math that the YOLO chip has to do in order to excuse me, I'm sorry, I had something stuck in my throat there. But you can change the math to make it more efficient to your ship and your setup. Generally, from what I've seen, the 1,000 minus the stored battery power divided by 10 tends to work for just about every ship. So, but of course, there's also individual tweaking and stuff that you can do on your own. You can use ISAN, which you can get off of the ISAN PDF on one of my previous tutorials. and you can just pretty much control anything with YOLO chips. So now for the final bit, we're gonna get on to how I'm showing the tens of thousands of battery power and the total propellant and stuff that I'm showing on my chips. So you can see here that this is the battery screen or battery power screen script. So when I did :battery, that was me calling on the battery panel. There, guys, I had to cut that out. I went into a massive coughing fit for no reason. I'm not feeling the greatest, but anyways, here's the battery power screen script. So :battery calls on the panel that's up in the bridge called battery, as you can see there. And so equals, meaning I want this to be equivalent to, not that it is equal to, but that's what I want to change it to. So battery equals B1 plus B2 plus B3 plus B4 plus all the way through all the batteries that I have, right? Go to 2, and it'll continue to run on this line. So that means that I had to change the panel value to the max value to 100,000 because I have 10 batteries, right? And so it has to be 100,000. So the battery script, all the stored battery powers I've renamed to B1, B2, B3, and so on. And so it'll add them all together and give you the cumulative total on the progress bar. So you can do the same with the propellant and the fuel. So you can see here that I've done fuel equals fuel 1 plus fuel 2 plus fuel 3 plus fuel 4. And that's what I renamed each of the chambers for what's the fuel is stored that's stored in it, right? So you can do that. And then propellant, I have 4 propellant tanks. I renamed them each P1, P2, P3, P4, and so now they all show up on each of their respective screens in the test mode. So you can see I've got 2.6 million propellant, I've got over 100,000 fuel, and I've got almost 100,000 battery power. It's starting to drain out because I do have things that run on the ship regardless. So a quick overview of some of the YOLO things. When you want the chip to call things, you in your device line, you use a colon, and then whatever the device name is. Okay, so the colon and then the device name, and that'll call that up. If you want to change it to something using the chip, you use =1 or =0. So if it's already at 1, you want to change it to 0, you would use =0. If it's already at 0 and you want it to be 1, you use =1, and it'll change it that way. If you want to give it a condition, then you use if as the first condition, and then whatever the device name is, okay, and is equivalent to. You can also do the opposite. You can do exclamation mark equals, which means not equals to, right? So if the device name does not equal, you can also say if it's less than or greater than. You can and a number, whatever you want it to be, you can control it using those different integers and characters. You can divide it by, you can use the asterisk for multiply, plus for add, minus for subtract, things like that. Equals to change, equals to equal to. So if the device name is equals to 1, then, so you're continuing to give it a condition, then, go to wherever the device line is or whatever, and you can control it with that. And if you're using conditionals, always end the conditionals with end. Otherwise, it's going to assume that you're continuing to give it conditionals. So that's how you can use conditionals to change things. and not just change the buttons. So that was pretty basic. That's everything basic that I know. I know a little more advanced things that are kind of complex, but I'm still learning YOLO script myself. And in fact, if this tutorial was really bad or you think that there's anything that should have been added, let me know in the comments down below and I will re-upload with a more descriptive video. I've tried my best to be as descriptive as possible when it comes to some of the basic stuff. Some of you may have already known all of this, and some of you may not have known any of it. So I hope that at least it helped some of you. I hope that you guys got good use out of this video. If you did, please make sure that you like and subscribe. Turn that notification bell on so you never miss an upload. I link my Twitch down in the description. I'm live almost every day, so you can usually catch me during the day. I am working on putting a finite schedule out so you guys can see me live. And then once again, you know, shout out to Simulator Haven. If you watch this video, fam, I love your Bastet design. I totally butchered it with the plating, you know, but it was super awesome and it was really fun to work with, and adding the doors on the side of the cockpit was super cool for me. I ended up putting the radiators there because I messed a lot up, but thank man for the ship design. It was super cool. It was super fun to work on. So thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. This has been Flames, and I will catch you guys on the next video.